Welcome everyone to our undergraduate fall 2020 webinar. My name's Andrea Thomas and I'm the Assistant Dean of Undergraduate Studies. And I'm grateful that all of you took some time out of your day to join the webinar. There's a lot of uncertainty we recognize with the pandemic, and we wanted to provide a forum that you could ask questions, that we could provide information. Before starting, I want to make sure that you know that I don't have all the answers, but I will give you the information we have, and then we're going to be introducing the channels that you'll be able to get information as changes are coming. The university made some big announcements this week, and we'll continue to have more specifics come out as the weeks progress. So I hope that this will be useful and not frustrating. I was a little bit worried that if you had a lot of questions that we weren't able to answer, that would create more of a frustrating environment, but the intention is to provide a channel that you can get the questions answered as soon as we have answers for them. So I'm going to put some slides up. And there will be an opportunity in the Q&A, so you can go down in the bar below and see Q&A, and I've already got a question in there, and so you can type your questions in there, and then after I go through some basic information in the beginning, then I'll go through the questions. And Sheena McFarland is here to help me with just the Q&A part of it. She's our Director of Marketing and Communications, and her team has put together an awesome place on the Eccles website for you to get information, and so she will help with that. And then we've got a couple other people joining that might be able to help us answer questions depending on what kind of questions you have. So I will share some slides. Let me make sure that I have the slides up that I need. So hold on just a second. We are also providing the slides and a videotape of this webinar on the website. And so you will be able to go back and look at the slides and see them if you need them as well. So let me just, sorry, it's hard to talk and get slides at the same time. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. The slides are coming. There we go. So sorry about that. All right, so we made an announcement this week. I think you probably saw it come out from the university that campus will be open in fall of 2020. There's a lot of things that we're looking at to make sure that it will be safe for everybody, for students, for faculties, the staff, and the community. So we're preparing an in-person instruction, and there's going to need to be some flexibility. So I will talk today about some of the things that we're focused on figuring out. But as you have experienced thus far, the virus is the pandemic and social distancing. It's something that changes. And so there are times where things are going really well, and then we kind of see flare-ups. And so we need to be flexible. And so I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the ways we're planning to be flexible. The state of Utah, I know many of you live in the state and many of you are from out of state. The state of Utah has a very coordinated effort with the university and with a lot of entities across the state. We're very fortunate at the University of Utah. We've got a very strong health system. And so the leaders of the health system have been very involved in the discussions with the governor and with business leaders from across the state. And so they have created this color-coded system, and we will be following the color-coded system. And so I'll take you through that in just a second, exactly what the color-coded system looks like. So you can get, there's a download that you can get much more detail. I just summarized some of the detail here, but there's a website at coronavirus.utah.gov/Utah-leads-together. And this provides all the direction for businesses, for schools, and the government across the state. So the state of Utah is color coded. Red is where we were in the very beginning, and we've since moved to orange. Most of the state of Utah is at yellow right now. The Salt Lake City, West Valley City, Magna, and the University of Utah campus is in Salt Lake City, and so we're still at orange. And so you can see that there's differences between each of the color codes. So when we were all in red, as you remember when it started, the groups had to be less than 10. In orange, you're allowed groups up to 20, but you're still staying home and 6 feet of social distancing. As we move into yellow, this is where the expectations are that the general public will take reasonable precautions. There's 6 feet of social distancing. Groups can be up to 50, and there's still a lot of limited travel. And then as we move into green, they're calling green the new normal. What this means is that the general public needs to take reasonable precautions, but they're not limiting the size of the group. And so we are fully anticipating that the campus will be in yellow within the month of June. We're planning for us to remain in yellow. There are chances that we'll have to move back to orange, but hopefully we'll be doing this in a way that will allow us to stay to yellow and possibly even move into green. The state of Utah is where we get the, so the government is where we kind of get the code whether, or the go ahead to move from one color system to another color system. I'm going to go through all the slides and then give you an opportunity to ask me questions. I'll go through the questions at the end. It's important for you to know that there's lots of plans that we need to make sure that everybody is safe when we're operating in yellow or orange. And so some of the plans that are under development through committees all across campus include how we're going to repopulate campus, how we're going to monitor to make sure that we know when there's any sort of instances of the virus or if we need to do anything. If there are outbreaks, how do we contain those potential outbreaks? If we need to reclose for any reason, we need to have the plans to allow us to do that. And then we also have to have expanded measures to contact trace and conduct proactive testing. We've got to demonstrate that we've got that ability, and we'll do that with a partnership within the state and local government. I will tell you that we're, again, fortunate because of the Utah Health System at the University of Utah and ARUP, which is also in Research Park. They actually have done a lot to make testing accessible. There's been some testing that the business school, the Mariner S. Eccles Institute has been a part of, where they've done some randomized testing to start to understand what levels of immunity are within communities. So if you see a lot of news across the country, every state's in a bit of a different place. And I will say the state of Utah and our campus have been very proactive and have a lot of resources to help on the testing front. There are specific guidelines that have come from the state for colleges and universities, and we will follow those guidelines, and there's a committee that's working through all the details of that, but it will include face coverings, physical distancing, what the population density needs to be in residence halls or dining facilities or classrooms. And so there's a lot more information coming out. I can talk about a little bit more general where we are at the moment, but these committees are meeting and getting very, very specific direction on that. So what you can expect, there will be smaller classes. So what's happening right now is we're looking at all of the schedules. And if there is a class that is a class size over 49, so anything larger, 50 or more, we're taking a look at those classes, and the smaller classes will need to have 6 feet in between people. We're expecting that you will have to wear a face mask to class, and we're rehousing some of the classes. So right now through the month of June, there's a lot of evaluation going on with class sizes, moving classes into the right classroom. So there's going to be some changes in schedules. That's the committee who's working on that is targeting to get that complete by the end of June, so that you will get information on the classes that you've signed up for. If you're in upper division, most of your classes are probably smaller. If you're in lower division, there's some larger classes. So we're looking at breaking up some of those classes into smaller class sizes. There will be some classes that are going to be all online classes, and then other classes that will be in person but may have some digital components to it. We're also planning for, in the event that somebody is sick, that they can still participate in class, or if there's something happens and from a contact testing, somebody can't go to class for a little while, that there's a way for you to still access the materials. So these are these hybrid classes, so that will allow for in-person and online instruction. More detail will come by each class to tell you exactly what to expect class by class. And then we are adapting travel plans to provide still the networking that we use for those travel plans for other businesses and fellow students. We have to adapt that in the fall. For those of you who are incoming business scholars, we've actually moved all out of town travel into spring semester. There is some in-state travel that we're hoping to do in the fall. And so we're still working on those plans. So the leadership retreats that we typically do in the spring, we're moving those to fall. And then in the event that we're not allowed to do those, there will be an adjustment to fees. There's going to be lab, studio, and interactive and different creative offerings to help people in small groups, so that you can still do learning in a group setting, but that there are ways that we can do that and not have too many, too much space issues like in meeting rooms and those types of things. And then there will be virtual tools that we'll be able to introduce to you, and potential adjustments to campus living. And we're still working on the details. We want students to be able to come and live on campus. We realize that that's an important part of the way that you're able to be on campus. And so we need to provide details for that. So you can expect some adjustment, but it's something that I don't have the details yet, but we will shortly have the details. I'm going to get to the chat and the questions in just a second. I have the last slide is going to show you how you're going to be able to get information. And then we have Taylor on. And so Taylor's going to say a couple words as soon as we go through this last slide. So we feel like the best way for you to be able to plan is for us to be able to give you frequent and transparent communication. As I mentioned when we started the webinar, the risk of this is that we don't have all your answers when you come on, but we will have the most up-to-date information available on our website. You can go to the website with the eccles.link/fall2020. What you'll see when you get there is we'll upload all of the webinars that we've done. We have a frequently asked questions section, and we'll have that being updated all the time. So as you ask questions, as we get answers to those questions, we'll include that on the FAQ. And then there will also be a chat function that you can ask questions, and then we can get back to you with the answers to those questions. So all of that is housed on the eccles.utah.edu, or you can use the quick link eccles.link/fall2020. We're planning to do these weekly webinars every Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. throughout June and July. We believe by the end of July, people will start coming on campus in August, and so hopefully we'll have perfect clarity of what we're doing, and then we won't need to do these anymore. And so the reason that we're doing Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m., I'm on a committee for the business school that's planning for everything coming back to school, and we go through a lot of the details for the business school that comes from some of the committees that are going across campus, and we meet on Thursday mornings. So I figure from Thursday from 1 to 2, we have the most relevant recent information. And then if you can't attend the webinar, they will be taped and they'll be uploaded to the website. And then we have been continuing to do regular email updates as announcements are made, and those will continue as well. So I'm going to stop sharing right now, and this presentation will also be uploaded on the site. And I'm going to go to questions in just a second, but I want to let Taylor, who's here, say a few words. So Taylor, I'm going to turn the time to you.
Hey, thanks, Andrea. Hi, everybody. Looks like we've got a number of you online today. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully this will be useful information. More information will be coming. We're excited to get fall semester up and running. We are balancing a set of concerns, as you all might understand. We've got anticipation that we'll have some in-class or physical classes, but we'll also have to be addressing concerns of those of you that are in high-risk situations or live with high-risk individuals. So either way, you will be able to consume education this fall. We'll have completely online options. We'll also have hybrid options and completely in-person options. So it'll be a little different, but we're excited for everything that's going to happen. A lot of student activities that are being planned. We're going to pull them off to the extent possible. The good news has been that the state of Utah is in relatively good shape thus far in terms of the COVID proliferation through the population. And we've been doing a good job, but we're excited to have everyone back. So I'll also be available for questions, and I'll turn it back to Andrea.
Great, thanks, Taylor. So what we're going to do now is there's a button at the bottom of your screen where you can ask questions, and I've got a couple of questions that have already come, and so I'll be answering those questions as they come. So if you have a question, you can just type it in right there. So the first question is, would it be possible to take classes online in August or even September and switch back to in-person classes? And the answer to that is that you won't be switching classes. So the way you start a class is going to be the way that you finish a class. The in-person classes are going to plan into them some flexibility for people in the event that they can't either make it to campus. So there's somebody here that's talking about they're an international student, and so they don't know when they're going to be able to fly back in. And so there will be a possibility in your classes to have some flexibility in the event that you're sick or there's some other extenuating circumstance, but you will sign up for the class for the whole entire semester, the same class. The second question, will there be accommodations for those of us who are either high risk or live with high risk individuals so we can do classes completely online? So not every class is going to be an in-person class, and there are online classes that the entire class is going to be remote. And so you should sign up if you want a completely online experience, then you should sign up for the classes that say they're online. So the university is trying to have 70% of the classes be conducted in person. Through the month of June, we're getting detailed as to where those classes will be, what size classroom they need to be in. And so you won't get specific information until probably the 1st of July or the end of June into the classes that you want to take, which ones will be online and which ones will be in person. So those of you who have already registered, just keep an eye on that. The schedule is updating as we're making changes to it, but it's really going to take through the month of June for us to get more detailed information class by class. Just recognize that we are trying to do the best that we can to provide a safe but a in-person experience. And so normally if a class holds 80 with the 6 feet distancing, it's not going to hold 80 anymore. It's going to hold 30 or 40. And so we've measured already every single classroom. We have all of the student caps on each of the classrooms. We've entered all of that, and then there's just a massive effort going on right now to kind of coordinate what everything looks like. So another question, when will school start in the fall? Updated school calendar. There will be an updated school calendar. We are starting on August 24th, exactly when we anticipated starting. They are taking a look at, there's things happening on campus, and they're taking a look at updating the calendar. So that information, we're anticipating a completely updated calendar, which comes from the university in the next week or two. So it won't start any earlier, but there could be some adjustments made through like when it ends and when breaks are, and if there are breaks, those types of things will be updated, and we'll know within the next 2 weeks. Kathy Hajab has joined us as well from a housing standpoint. And there's a lot of questions about housing that we don't have a lot of details yet, but I'm going to give Kathy a chance while I'm looking at a couple other questions. I'm going to give Kathy a chance to just say hi to everybody and kind of give you an idea of how decisions are being made right now with housing.
Hello, everybody. This is Kathy. Sorry I was a little bit late getting registered into the webinar. So boy, is this a puzzle that the campus leadership is putting together. We have been waiting for the Utah System of Higher Education to announce some guidelines, which were posted today, which I think you can get a link to at the utah.edu website. In addition to that, we're now reading those guidelines, working through a number of different scenarios to make certain that students can be accommodated on campus in a safe and healthy way. We anticipate really granular, detailed plans being announced in the next week or 10 days.
Great, thanks, Kathy. One question that we had come up was from a potential business scholar who hasn't arranged for housing because housing was full. Is there any process for anybody who has not yet had housing lined up, things that they need to do to get on a list for housing?
Oh,
or have those
absolutely.
deadlines passed?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you can go to housing.utah.edu and you can apply for housing. You can apply to be put on a wait list. There's still a lot of flux at this point. So students won't be confirming their attendance to their respective universities up until June 1st. So I'd encourage you, if you've not arranged for housing, certainly do that now. Go to the housing website, complete an application, get in the queue.
Great, thank you, Kathy. So there's a question about, will most of our classes be online or hybrid? So you will know when you register for a class if it's going to be an all online class. Those will be identified. Somebody asked about tuition and fees for those. Those will be so online, it kind of talks if there's any additional fees or anything different for purely online classes. We are trying to put at least 70% of the classes to be live classes. Now, what will most likely happen in a live class is that you will be attending the class as much as you can, but there might be some things that still need to happen digitally for different reasons, such as maybe somebody gets sick who sat around you, so then you need to distance for a period of time to make sure that the virus doesn't spread. So even in-person classes will have some digital aspect to them. That will become a lot more clear as you get the syllabus and have all those updated. So what happened at the end of spring and through summer, where everything went to online, the anticipation for fall is that we will identify what is online and what is in person. If something is in person, there are going to be some flexible ways in the event that you're sick that you can still participate in class, but it's not going to be an in-person class can flip to online for a certain portion of the class. It's up to the professor to kind of lay that out. And so those details will be on the class schedules and will become clearer by the end of the month. So I know that this is a little bit of a vague answer, but it's what's happening right now is we're taking a look at all of the classes, the sizes of the classes, the classrooms that are available, and then we're doing this massive exercise to reassign classes into classrooms that will fit the number of people that are going to be in them. We haven't determined yet whether there'll be alternating schedules, so students will come on some days and other students will come on other days, but that information will be worked out in the next 4 weeks. So hopefully that answered the questions about classes. What does a hybrid class mean? So what a hybrid class means is that it is intended to be in person, but has flexibility for parts of it to be done digitally to address any sort of situations that come up during the semester. So some of the things that we have to plan for are, people getting sick or people non-symptomatic who actually are contagious, to be able to separate them from people who are in the class. So we have to be prepared to be able to make some adjustments so that you can get all of the information that you need to do well in each of the classes. Okay. Football season, that's a question that a lot of us have. And we actually have been doing these webinars with Governor Leavitt, Mike Leavitt, and we had Mark Harlan on a webinar about 2 weeks ago and asked the question about sports and football. And he is on a committee with the Pac-12, and he's in meetings all the time. If you want to watch what he had to say, it's on the Mariner S. Eccles website. But he said that there's a lot of different scenarios that they're looking at, and they were just released, I believe, to have the student athletes come back in the 1st of July to start practicing, but they haven't announced yet exactly what that's going to look like. So the intention is to make it happen. We don't know what exactly it's going to look like, but they're working very diligently on that to make sure that they're keeping the athletes safe and all the people, all the spectators safe as well. So more information to come on football season. How are classrooms and buildings going to be cleaned, and what about social distancing in the transition between classes? So that's another thing that we're working on. We've got a cleaning schedule. We've got access for you to be able to wipe down your particular space. So we will be able to provide information on that. We are still working through the specific details of things like stairwells and hallways and bathrooms and things like that to make sure that people are keeping social distanced. But if you've been into a grocery store lately and you've seen aisles that are one-way aisles, you've seen X's on the floor that are 6 feet away from another X on the floor, those are some of the things that are being used generally to help people social distance. It's going to be really important for students to take responsibility ability for themselves and kind of be aware of when they're close to somebody. But these are things that specifically we're working on the schedules for that, but we have ordered, masks and cleaning supplies and hand sanitizers and those types of things to be available so that we can make sure that we keep everything sanitized. Kathy, I don't know if you have any hints at what the housing is thinking about. I mean, cleaning is most definitely on everybody's minds.
Yeah, so for those of you who may have already been to campus, I come from the Lausanne Entrepreneur Institute and the Lausanne Studios. And so we're looking at things like how our Miller Cafe and our hangar space, will food be available for dine-in? Will there be pickup? I can tell you that our cafe folks have got a really cool new app where you can order it, have it be picked up at a particular time. So they're working through some of those processes with the food. As far as cleaning, I can tell you our cleaning crew is double, tripling, quadrupling their efforts to keep the spaces clean. They're also doing a whole number of scenarios about how to keep students kind of in a smaller group so that they are not mixing with as many other students. There's just so many different ways to put this puzzle together. But they're taking guidelines from the CDC and also the Utah System of Higher Ed to make sure that students have a really rich, wonderful college experience, but can feel safe coming to campus.
Great, thank you, Kathy. Getting some questions about professors and how they're preparing. So in spring semester, this was kind of something that was sprung on everybody after fall or after spring break. And so we very quickly had to be teaching while we were moving things online. In the summer, professors were able to prepare for online teaching. And so we have a really amazing online facility because there's some online MBA programs that I've taught in the online MBA program, and they have studios that you can tape your lectures in. They've got really great webinar capabilities. And so our professors, all professors have been given access to those experts. There's instructional designers, there's video capability. And so we've provided information. Every professor has received a presentation and then an opportunity to do training on how to do things online. And so the capability of each of the departments has been increasing, and we're checking on that as well. Rachel Hayes is our Associate Dean for Faculty, and so she's been in close contact with faculty as well on utilizing all of the access to the great resources that we have for classes. And so the classes that are going to be pure online classes, we have been investing in increasing the effectiveness of those. And then the classes that are going to be a hybrid, those are going to be something that, the intention and how it's laid out to do as much in person as we can. I would anticipate that the professors will be looking at things that they can do to make sure, like, for example, if there's a big group presentation, there needs to be a way, if somebody is sick, that they can still participate, or maybe they're in quarantine or something, that they can still participate in getting the points for the group presentation. So these are things that we've had many faculty meetings, and we'll continue to have those to make sure that we're sharing best practices, and then the experts are helping all of the professors prepare for that. So I'm going back to see if there's other questions. Sorry, the questions are coming in a couple of different ways, and so that's why I'm having to look at a couple different things. Okay, on-campus shuttle systems, how are those going to work with social distancing measures? So the thing I know about social distancing, I haven't heard specifically about shuttles, but social distancing, there is an expectation that people will be wearing masks. And I do believe Ashley asked about, will students be required to wear a mask in class? And I do believe the answer to that will be yes. There will be more information coming out, but that's the guidelines that we've been receiving across the state, is to have 6 feet distancing and wearing a mask. So on the shuttles, most likely you'll be required to wear a mask, and there will probably be a capacity adjustment. I haven't been given that information yet, but they'll be coming out with specifics on that. So I'll keep an eye out for shuttle schedules and what kind of protocol. There's a lot of students who ride tracks to school as well, and so public transportation. They are working very diligently to figure out ways to make all of that safe. And so we'll be getting more information as we get ready to come back on campus for that. Okay. I'm just going back to make sure I've answered all the questions. There was a question about how you can get access to this recording. I showed you the link to the website, so eccles.link/fall 2020. So we will be having all of the webinars. The tape of that webinar will be uploaded, and then the slides will also be uploaded in that location so that you can go back and look at that. So will the U be providing masks? The business school has ordered masks, but my recommendation for every student would be to come to school with masks. So don't assume that you can show up to something and be handed a mask. We have been ordering masks. I know there's a lot of people who have been, making masks. There's stores. I went to a sports store not long ago, and they were selling masks. And so I would anticipate that you need to be prepared to have a mask on hand. Masks aren't things that you want to share. And so we will have a supply, but I don't know how long that supply will last. So you should be prepared to have your own mask and to wash your mask and to do everything that can keep you safe. Hand sanitizer, we will be providing hand sanitizer. We've been ordering that. We'll be getting as many sanitized wipes as we can, so that when you walk into a classroom, you can wipe your seat and make sure that it's sanitized to your satisfaction. At any given time, just like when you go to the bathroom and you're out of the towels, if it runs out, we'll update it and we'll keep it stocked as much as we possibly can. So you might also, if you can, have some of your own hand sanitizer, but that's something that we've been ordering in bulk to prepare for students to come back to campus. Let's see. Okay, there was a question about tracks being opened currently, and I am not sure the answer to that. I know that most of the state is under yellow, and so downtown Salt Lake, or the Salt Lake City areas, is still orange, and West Valley is still orange. So I can look and see if we can find that answer. Do any of the students know? Has anybody ridden tracks lately and know how tracks is working? I'm looking on the chat and see if anybody knows anything about that. I'm sure that you can go. It's definitely open. Thank you. Because people have seen it running. So I'm sure that you can go to the Utah Transit Authority online, and they'll have information about how they've been managing the social distancing on the tracks system. Thank you so much. So it's www.rideuta.com. And then if you get onto that site, there's rider info, coronavirus COVID-19 updates. So you can get that information there. Okay, excellent. Thank you. So if you have any suggestions on topics that you want us to cover, I obviously will bring to you the latest information that we have from the university and from the business school, and we're getting more specifics. I mean, it's changing all the time, but it's just because we've got a lot of people working on it and working to address all of the concerns that you might have. And so I think we've answered all the questions that I've seen today. And so we'll be doing these every Thursday. But if you have questions, there is a chat feature on the eccles.utah.edu website that you can go on and type in the question, and then we can get back to you with an answer. Keep an eye on the frequently asked questions. We're updating those all the time as that information is coming up. And then somebody asked about Business Scholar webinars. There is a Business Scholars webinar coming up tomorrow. Sheena, what time is it tomorrow?
That is tomorrow from 3 to 4 p.m.
Thank you, from 3 to 4 p.m. And so if you go on to the eccles.utah.edu site, you can go up to the Business Scholars tab, or if you go to the Fall 2020, so the eccles.link/fall 2020, then you can see right where you register and click into that. So I just want to close. Okay, there was a question, sorry, about orientation and other big school events. So when we're in yellow, the largest size that we can get together is 49. And so what that will mean is that orientations, for all of new student orientation, that's been moved to online. For Business Scholars orientation, we're going to be doing it in pieces so that there's not a group larger than we're allowed, and that we can do the social distancing. Kathy, I'm sure you've got plans on how you're doing housing orientation, but just anticipate that it's going to be done in groups smaller than what is limited, probably with multiple sessions running. But Kathy, anything you want to add to that?
I can tell you our housing colleagues are working on an extended move-in process so that not as many people are moving into the building at the same time. Again, all of these really important details that are so important to the decisions that you guys are all making will be published within the next couple of weeks in really good detail. But plan on, move-in will be a little bit spread out so that, again, we meet the social distancing guidelines. We want it to be a really fun beginning of campus, and so we're being pretty creative here on how we can make sure students have a really great experience and do it in a safe and healthy way.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Kathy. Yeah, I just want to close with, we really are excited to see students again. We've been missing students. I think, students have been missing the interaction with other students. We are absolutely dedicated to keeping you safe, but it's still going to be a great experience. And we still want you to know that if you haven't yet decided if you're going to come to the university, June 1st is the deadline to enroll. And so if you have any questions that I haven't been able to answer for you, then please let us know. You can ask in the chat function. I'm monitoring all the chats that are coming through the website. Or if you have any questions about enrolling in Business Scholars or anything like that before the June 1st deadline, then you can send us an email at businessscholars businessscholars@eccles.utah.edu. There's new student orientations happening right now, and so that will help you get your classes added and get ready to go. But we're doing our best. We're dedicated to having a great school year, but keeping everybody safe. And I think we're having to practice a little bit of resilience and adaptability, but those are skills that will help you in life as well. But, we just promise to do our best at communicating, and the transparency and frequency of communication. We're going to give you all the information we have as we have it, and there'll be a lot more coming up in the next several weeks. So there is a question about how to make sure you're fully enrolled in the U, and I would suggest reaching out to your academic advisor And if you are a new student, then you'll get your academic advisor assigned to you during new student orientation, and then they can help you make sure that you're fully enrolled. But you do, if you're a new student, you need to go in and you do need to pay your enrollment fee, and make sure that you're committing to coming this fall. And then the fees that you pay will go against your tuition in the fall. So if you have any questions about that at all, you can go to the website, admissions.utah.edu, and then you can also, there's a chat for academic advising on our Eccles website, so you can ask them a question as well. Okay? So also in the chat, there's been several links for students, so new student orientations. So there's a lot of information on there, but if you can't find it, just hit the chat function and then we can point you in the right direction. And what we've tried to do is just integrate everything and make it simple and easy for you. So there's a lot of information on that fall 2020 site. Okay? If you want to send us emails ahead of time for questions that you have, please do that through the chat function as well, and then we can prepare those for next week, and then we can add those to the frequently asked questions. But just wanted to tell you, have a great summer. I look forward to seeing you on these weekly calls. Hopefully they're useful, and we just care a lot about our students and your health and your safety, and we're excited to see you again. So thanks everybody for joining us today.